right, greetings. Welcome in. It's Bettor's Last Stand, show number 107, coming to you from the Pine Room Watchdog Studios, downtown Wheeling. Getting you ready for another exciting weekend of sports action. We got the sports equinox going on right now. Sports of all kinds, all professional leagues in North America underway right now. We're finishing up, I guess, as it is in the World Series. Drags on for another day, but by the time you listen to this, it might be over with. The Yankees might be finished completely. It's 3-1 LA at this point. Still got NBA just started up. We won't talk much about that as usual. If you want more NBA information, we'll continue to give you some ATS stuff and things like that, but it's a little bit too early for that. And then NHL as well. Got some ATS. Well, not really ATS, but yeah, I guess it is kind of ATS. It's still against the total kind of for the first periods, the second periods, and third periods. Got those numbers. Those continue to build, and trends are pretty strong already. So we'll talk about those. We got racing on the show today, of course. And then we're going to do it a little bit different this week with our CFL and soccer we're going to do here in the first segment, because in the second segment, which is usually all football, we're going to that'll be our Watchdog segment. We're going to be doing a little bit of horse racing. We got the Breeders' Cup this week, so we're going to talk a little bit about that. Give out a few plays, but then always refer you to BLS_PRP for the finalized plays as we get closer to race time. And some things change, obviously in California this year, so we won't have a problem with the weather, but or we shouldn't, at least. I don't think we do. So we'll scout that kind of stuff out, as well as also eligibles and scratches that may not come out until Friday or Saturday. So only so much we can do, but we're going to try to give you a good rundown of some of the key races and some of the key horses to look for here in the richest day in horse racing, at least in North America. I guess any place that's not Dubai or the Qatar or any of those places, Saudi Arabia. It's the richest outside of those places, and a lot of great horse racing action coming your way on Friday and Saturday from Del Mar Racetrack out in San Diego. So we're talking about that. And we're also going to talk a little bit about the election and the betting there, how that's priced and how things are looking right now as we head into Election Day on Tuesday. Going to give you the rundown from a bettor's perspective. Obviously, we can't bet that stuff here in the United States legally, unfortunately, but it is across the world one of the biggest days in the history of betting every single time as a United States major election. So we'll see how things are trending across the world and what the prices are like. We'll talk about those in the second portion of the program, as well as our college football and NFL rundowns for the weeks 9 and 10. Already hard to believe. We're about halfway through NFL already. College football, only a few weeks left. That's about finished, and I'm kind of glad, but that's all right. We had a good week in college football last week, if you can believe it or not. We were up just under 16 units on the week, 1590 to be exact. Missed out on a really good potential race winner with Ryan Blaney last week. Just didn't have enough late. Tyler Reddick ends up winning it, but we had a really good shot at another big price there in racing. But that's all right. We got some live action in the championship chase, and we'll attack what we got this week as they head to Martinsville, the paperclip, for the final time, and 2 races remaining in the NASCAR schedule. On the week, again, we were down up just under 16 units, plus 1590. We were 2-1 in the CFL plays. Of course, the one play clinch, so we didn't play the last game on the card. That was contingent on the other team losing, and the other game didn't mean anything, so scratch that one out of there as a push. And we were 6-3 in the EPL, so strong week there. Our best week in college football in a while, 9-4. But our best bet did not cash. One that I really, really liked, and it just never materialized. I thought Wisconsin had improved a little bit on offense. Thought Penn State's offense was still decent, even without Drew Allard. I thought the backup quarterback did a nice job for them, but it stayed under nonetheless, so we're 4-6 in our best bets. NFL-wise, so we were 9-3 in the NFL this week, and that was the best weekend that I've had in the NFL in quite a long time, so we'll try to keep it going. A lot of times we're churning out 500 records, but 9-3, we'll take it. Best bet cashes with Baltimore and Cleveland over the total. Our best bet 6-2 on the season for the NFL. NASCAR, we had 2 top 10s, but Should have been a lot better. And in F1, Mercedes double top 6. That one hits the Ferrari boys, which we've been talking about, how they have been the team that has been hot lately. They've been the most consistent team, and they get another win again. So two different drivers, 2 weeks, 2 Ferrari victories. Live tickets on the Dodgers at -130. We also have the Dodgers in 5, which is now available, or now still active, I should say. I thought it was going to be a sweep, and it was going to cost us a little bit there, but we got a shot for the Dodgers in 5. We also had the Dodgers in 6. Dodgers in 5 plays 6-1. Dodgers in 6 plus 375. So those live tickets heading into the weekend. By the time you listen to this, they may either be on their way to LA or LA's back for good, setting up their parade route after taking down the Yankees in Game 5. All right, World Series, as you know, it's 3-1 Dodgers. Freeman, the clear-cut MVP right now. The Yankees would have to come back and win in 7 games for anybody else to have a prayer of getting the MVP. He has been absolutely incredible. If you did a rollover bet on every single home run Freddie Freeman has hit in the World Series, his last 6 games, he's hit a home run, even when he played for the Braves. So if you can believe this, if you bet 1 unit, so that'd be, say, a $100 unit, you'd be up $27,000. That's just unthinkable. Overs 23, 17, and 2 in the MLB postseason. Favorites now 25, 15, and 2 with the Yankees cashing the other night as a small favorite. NBA, nothing to see here. We will have those numbers, the best teams ATS, and some other trends, quarter trends, and things like that. Once that data starts to become a little bit more available, we really don't have anything to go off of yet. Although I will say, we'll make an observation, and I've heard some other shows talk about it, so I'm not. Well, I wouldn't say it was something that I noticed that is always a thing when you have a new arena. But then I did hear this from several people that the Clippers at home right now with that wall thing that they have seems to be a really good home court advantage, a really, really tough shooting advantage or disadvantage for the visiting team. So maybe you start figuring out the halves, or whatever half the visitors shoot in that area. Maybe unders there, and then unders for the games have stayed under, other than one game that went to overtime. So keep an eye on that for Clippers games. All right, let's jump into hockey here really quick before we talk racing and Canadian football and soccer. Hockey, NHL, we got some period data for you here, and these are strong trends. These things are hitting now at a pretty high clip, and they continue to be a strong trend. They were very strong last year. First period over so far this year. The Vegas Golden Knights 8-1 to the over. The Florida Panthers 8-2 to the over. Montreal 7-2 to the over. I watched Montreal last night. I've watched them a few times. They got absolutely scorched. They're horrible defensively. Their goaltending is not very good. That the goalie gets isolated and hung out to dry quite often. It's pretty bad actually. They're giving up goals for fun. So over 1.5 for them is going to start getting juiced up to 160, 170, 180. You can round robin these if you want to get a little bit more value on them. One of the few things that I would say round robin parlaying is an okay thing to do. Anyway, back to it. Montreal, as I said, 7-2. Philadelphia 7-2, and Colorado 7-2 to the over. So those are all over 1.5. So those are the strong trends. So you got Vegas hitting 8 out of 9, Florida hitting 8 out of 10. It's 80%. Montreal 7-2, Philly 7-2, Colorado 7-2. So some strong numbers there. Second period overs, Columbus 6-1 to the over. New Jersey 10-2 to the over. So they're obviously having some issues with their changing, or they're being very, very attack-minded with the other team's longer change. Pittsburgh 8-2. They give up goals for fun every single night. Team totals over against the Penguins right now. A great value. I had Minnesota Wild last night. And again, if you're a Penguin fan, you don't have to root against them. So you can play the team total over for the team that they're playing, and you could still cash both bets if you. But the Penguins haven't won much of anything lately, and they are struggling badly. And it's not really the goaltending. It's just their defensive zone and their gambling in the neutral zone and the attacking zone just doesn't make sense with the roster that they have. Florida 8-2, so Florida over for the first period, Florida over for the second period. They're 80% on both periods. So Florida Panthers scoring a lot of goals, giving up some goals as well. Third period over, only one team with a strong start, and that is the Vegas Golden Knights, who are also a good first period team. So Vegas, first and third periods. Vegas goal in the first 10 minutes. It was really good at home last year for them. That crowd is rocking, and the energy is there. So goal in the first 10 at Vegas, never a bad bet. ECHL, the Nailers 2-2 as they have one more road game. They're at Toledo on Friday and then back home to Bloomington on Saturday for the home opener. So stop on down West Banco Arena tomorrow if you're listening to this on Friday. and come out and see the Nailers play Bloomington. Should be a good game. Bloomington, one of the new teams in the ECHL. If you want to make wagers on the games, we'll have all the games posted over at Wheeling Island Hotel Casino Racetrack Sportsbook. You can bet on all the Nailer games. You can bet on the North Division odds throughout the season to win the North Division. You can bet on the point totals for the teams in the North Division as well all season long. Canadian football playoffs. We're back at it here. The Canadian football playoffs, if you can believe it, they're here already. We're going to talk about those here momentarily, but I wanted to at least reference a few things in baseball. I don't really think this is going to be possible because the Yankees, I think, are going to be finished. But if you wanted to get down on the Dodgers to win in Game 7, it's plus 550. I don't think that's terrible. I feel like if they get it sent back to LA, it might end up going 7. Doubt it happens, but you never know. All right, let's talk some Canadian football. As we're going to actually, let's do racing first. That's what I meant to do. We're going to do racing first. That was on my sheet. I got ahead of myself. All right, Sao Paulo, that is in Brazil. That is where the F1 boys will be this week. It's the Sao Paulo Grand Prix as they stay in the this hemisphere, and they were in North America last week, of course, Mexico, and in where were we? COTA, Circuit of the Americas, the week before that here in the United States. Last week it was Carlos Sainz getting it done for Team Ferrari. Strong performance by him, and he led 63 laps. He was exceptional. Max Verstappen led 8 of them. I thought maybe we could get him home, but he fell downward lately, and Red Bull just doesn't have the speed that they once had. And Ferrari, right now, they've cut out the mistakes. Everybody was talking about Mercedes, McLaren, and Red Bull, and here comes Ferrari, back-to-back victories with Leclerc and with Sainz, back-to-back weeks. So they take it down in Mexico. We did cash with the Mercedes double top 6 with Lewis and George running 4th and 5th down at the Hermanos Rodriguez race course in Mexico City. So, pretty good race. I think it was clearly the best there. I mean, Ferrari, you could get Ferrari right up against the green flag. You could get either Ferrari car to win at plus 105. I bet that one myself late. It was a good one. So, Ferrari very strong right now, but just when you think they're good, they have a catastrophe, although they haven't done it in recent weeks. All right, and so now we go to Sao Paulo. Max Verstappen, the defending champion here. He led 68 of the 71 laps last year with Lando Norris leading 3 of those laps. George Russell and Lewis Hamilton went 1-2 here in 2022, and George Russell led 66 laps. Lewis with 5 laps led in that one. So I think it's maybe worth a shot with the Mercedes guys here. You're getting them both around 20-1. They've had some success here at this track. Ferrari, of course, running hot, but once again, it's Lando Norris who is favored at plus 195. I'm not certain that the McLarens are in the best form right now, although Lando did run second here last year, and I don't think he's been bad. And I will say, Oscar Piastri drove really, really well. He started 17th. He had a penalty during qualifying, so he started way back, and he picked off 10 cars, so pretty good run for him. But McLaren, just so. I still think the Ferraris maybe have a little bit of an edge on them, and it's only a matter of time before Mercedes swings the pendulum back and has one of those weeks where they're pretty good. I think they could be good again here. I'll be on them probably for a double top 6, and while we're at it, maybe a double top 6 for the Ferrari boys. I'm not certain Max Verstappen's going to be able to do anything to help Red Bull's sinking in the manufacturer standings right now, so we'll keep an eye on that. I'll post my plays at BLS_PRP once we see a little bit of practice, have an idea of who might be fast and who might not be. One thing about Mexico City is that the pole sitter, who was Max Verstappen last year, and the pole sitter the year before that, George Russell, both led the most laps, both led nearly every lap, and both won the race. So not as easy to pass here as some of the other tracks on the circuit, and I think that could be a problem. So you want to take a look and see who's on the pole and maybe take a good approach there if you can beat them to the moving the markets and get a nice plus price there at Sao Paulo. All right, moving on to the NASCAR Xfinity Series. Actually, what am I doing? No, Xfinity. It's not the Xfinity Series. It's the Xfinity 500. I was going to say, Matt, you brought the wrong paper. We don't do Xfinity Series on here. We do the Cup Series. If you want Xfinity picks, I can give those to you, but we usually don't have time on the show. Tyler Reddick gets the job done last week at a pretty short price. He edges out Ryan Blaney. It's disappointing for us. We thought we had a really good edge there with Blaney, who's trying to race his way into the finals at Phoenix next week. but maybe we're just going to come up short with Blaney. We gave out that price a few weeks ago with him with a good price to win the championship like we did last week. I thought he was going to get it done. He started 20th and he finished second. He led 47 laps. Just couldn't make it. And Chase Elliott, another great effort by him. He gave everything he had there. He led 81 laps. He finished fifth and just can't get over the hump. So both Elliott and Blaney, desperate need. They got to win this week to get in, and only one of them can do it. So we'll see what happens. But Tyler Reddick with Michael Jordan on hand gets into victory lane. They were very, very happy about that, of course, with the 23-11 racing. Obviously, not very often where Bubba Wallace is going to be a contender for a championship. But Tyler Reddick, one of the best drivers on the circuit. All right, so here we go. We're at Martinsville. It's a short track. It's a paper clip. It's literally shaped like a paper clip. Brakes, huge here. Shifting, huge here. Lots of things go on here. This is a track that you're either very good at or you usually don't like it because it's a very big beating on the body. And, they don't get up to high amounts of speeds. It's not the banking of a Bristol. But nonetheless, it should be a great 500 miles of action here. And I think that it makes sense to start with Ryan Blaney and Chase Elliott. Ryan Blaney 6-1, Chase Elliott 8-1, 8.5-1. Ryan Blaney has been very good here. He has an 8.8 driver average here. That's really, really good. That's the best of any active driver at Martinsville. 8.8 average finish for Ryan Blaney at this track. He's won here before, of course, and Chase Elliott's won here as well. He has a 12.7 average, pretty good. I think that's the third or fourth best behind Denny Hamlin and Joey Logano. Can't talk you off Denny Hamlin, but he's 5-1, little short for me, and he's kind of not been very strong in the playoffs, which is kind of surprising. But Denny Hamlin is from Virginia. Martinsville is in Virginia, although this isn't his home track. That would probably be Richmond. Don't count him out here, but 5-1, a little too low for me. And if you're going to do that, if you're going to bet Denny Hamlin to win this race, well, you're better off just betting him to win the championship because then you can get him at like 20-1, I think he is. Yeah, he's 20-1. So if he wins it, if he wins this race, he's got to win it at 20-1. So, or win the race, he has to win it to get in there to where the 20-1 can count in the finals. So it's a little bit of a risk. You got to then come back and win 2 in a row. That's going to be tough to do, but it could happen. Denny Hamlin, an all-time great here in NASCAR, and so I think maybe it's worth a shot. My pick to really win this race, Blaney and Elliott, I have to use them. I think they're both still alive. They've both been running very well the last few weeks. Just a little bit of bad luck last week, or one of them was in the playoffs or in the finals, the championship final, instead of Tyler Reddick. You already have Kyle Larson in there. You already have Joey Logano. You already have Tyler Reddick. So one more driver will join them. Dependent on if one of those three wins, then or one of the guys who's not in the playoffs win, then it will be on points. If the driver who's among the 5 other guys who are still alive, if one of them wins, then they will go into the final at Phoenix. So I think William Byron is really strong here. He's got a really good all-time record here at the paperclip, and he's been very strong. He's got a win here. He's got a 13.8 average, pretty strong. He won the race here. I believe he won the spring. Yeah, he won the spring race here back in April. He led 46 laps. Kyle Larson was second, led 53 laps in a race that had a lot of leaders. You had a lot of guys battling for the lead. Byron, Larson, and Elliott all led a bunch of laps. Logano led a bunch of laps, and so did Denny Hamlin. So this is a very competitive racetrack. You can pass here, and pit stop's important. Getting out, it's congested. So pit crew very, very big here. You got some of the best pit crews in the business there with the guys I named: Byron, Larson, Elliott, and Hamlin. So all those guys definitely contenders. Kyle Larson, obviously one of the favorites here, but he doesn't have to go all out to try to win this. If he's gonna try to say, I'm going to push my luck and I'm going to try to win all these races, okay, but sometimes the guy will just sit back and wait for the next race. So I wouldn't bet one of the guys who's already into the final. He doesn't want to have an injury. He doesn't want to have anything go wrong. He just want to stay clear, have a smooth ride, build some confidence, and be ready to go for the championship the following week. William Byron at 7-1 I think is a decent play. Again, I mentioned Blaney and Elliott both between 6.5 and 8.5 to 1. A couple of longer shot guys. Alex Bowman, 25-1. He's won here before, had some success. I'm not sure that the Hendrick team will be focused on him. They definitely want to get Elliott or Byron into that playoff, so you're going to see the team completely trying to do whatever they can do to accommodate either William Byron or Chase Elliott to get into the playoffs. Alex Bowman's probably not going to get the same luxury as he is not in the playoffs anymore. Brad Keselowski, 20-1 for him. He's had some success here at the paperclip, so you can't ever count out Brad Keselowski at 20-1 price. He's ran well here in the past and can definitely be a contender. He's the kind of guy that you never really want to rule out, and has some really good all-time stats at Martinsville. Martin Truex, he continues to try to win one last race. He's 16-1 here. We'll probably take a shot with him again. He's been good here in the past. He's had some decent runs here in recent years, and I think Martin Truex could be live, but it's going to be tough. You're going to be seeing the very, very best efforts for these playoff teams. And then one more long shot, Chase Briscoe, 16-1 for him. He's been very, very good. Maybe one of his best tracks since he's came onto the Cup circuit. So take a peek at Chase Briscoe at 16-1. Again, William Byron, our top choice at 7-1, but you got to use Ryan Blaney and Chase Elliott here, both of them trying to race their way into the finals of the playoffs next week at Phoenix, both between 6.5 and 8.5 to 1. Decent, fair prices on those guys. As far as the championship goes, we have the bet on Joey Logano, we have the bet on Chase Elliott, we have the bet on Ryan Blaney. If you want to double down on those guys, Ryan Blaney 25-1, Chase Elliott 40-1, Denny Hamlin 20-1. I can't talk you off him. William Byron is 6-1, and he is not in yet, so he's got some work to do. Tyler Reddick at 3-1, Kyle Larson at 550, and Joey Logano at plus $3. Those guys in the finals already. So one more driver will join those three in a chance to win the NASCAR championship at Phoenix on a week from this Sunday. So should be a really good one. Michael Jordan has been involved a lot in this, and he is the part car owner of Tyler Reddick. So you'll be seeing MJ in victory lane if he gets there like he did last week, or you're going to see him on TV down in Phoenix since he has a driver in there. It's pretty cool stuff. All right, Canadian football. Here we go. We usually do this in the second portion of the program, but like I said, we're going to talk a little bit of some different stuff along with the pro and college card. Canadian football playoffs, here we go. So you got Montreal with a bye in the East Division. You have Winnipeg with a bye in the West Division. Montreal plus 225 to win it all. They are the defending champions. Winnipeg and Montreal have won the last 4 Grey Cups. So pretty tough to take either one, like not take one of those two. Winnipeg at plus 210, Montreal plus 225. So they're basically co-favorites. You could shop around and find probably a better price. Plus 350 on Toronto, which is a little bit interesting, and I'll get back to that. Saskatchewan plus 450. BC 8-1. I saw some sharp guys early in the year give BC out as a long shot. Now they're going to need to go on the road, though, and win a game here. That's going to be a little bit tough. And then they got to keep winning for the next few weeks. Saskatchewan plus 450 and Ottawa 20-1. Again, BC 8-1. So we got Ottawa at Toronto in the Eastern Division semifinal. It will be the Argonauts of Toronto -7 at home. The total 52. The Red Blacks of Ottawa come in 9-8-1 on the season. Toronto was 10-8 during the regular season. They split their regular season games, both pretty close games. 7 of their last 10 in this series have went over. But I'm going to go under here because I did see 2 times when they have played in the playoffs, it stayed under the mid-40s, and this total's at 52. So I think that's a touch high for a playoff game. So we're going to go under in Ottawa and Toronto, and I'm also going to take Ottawa plus the 7. I think this is a pretty even game. They split in the regular season. This isn't a long trip for Ottawa. They're going to be able to sleep in their own beds, and they're going to be able to take on Toronto, and I think that they'll be ready for this game. And if you can get 7 in the hook, I think Ottawa's got some value to them. I think they have a shot. I think Toronto probably wins this game, but by 3 or 4 points. So we'll go with Ottawa and under in the first game. That is a Saturday 3 o'clock kickoff, the Eastern semifinal of the Canadian football quarterfinals. Boston College, jeez. BC, that's British Columbia. British Columbia Lions taking on the Saskatchewan Roughriders. It'll be the Roughriders -3. The total 51. The Roughriders come in 9-8-1 on the season. BC 9-9. So another very even matchup. They split in the regular season just like Ottawa and Toronto did. This one was hard for me. I'm leaning BC, but I didn't have a really strong feeling on this game. I think I'm going to go with the under in the game as well. Again, I don't like this game as much as I like the other one. I think that BC's dangerous to me on the road, but it is on the road, so it's tough. I don't know. I don't know where I come down on this, and I'm conflicted between Saskatchewan and BC. Jeez, I keep saying Boston College. British Columbia at 8-1. So I'm leaning BC, and I lean to the under in that game as well. That is a 7:30 kickoff. That is the Western semifinal on Saturday evening. As far as the futures go, I thought there was a little bit of value on Toronto. If they can get this game here, they've played Montreal pretty well in the recent years, and I think they'll have a shot of upsetting them. It's tough to repeat here, and I know that people will be gunning for Montreal. So small lean to Toronto in the futures market for the Grey Cup outright winner there at plus 350. I saw some plus 375s out there as well. All right, so on to the round football, the best football, at least to me it is. It's soccer time here on Bettor's Last Stand, and we'll go through the English Premier League card as well as some Champions League, as we were 6-3 in the EPL last week, which is a very strong week for us, and Champions League match day number 4 comes back this week. So we had a couple weeks off there. They had an international break. They went back domestically last week, and now we're ready to go back to Europe in the midweek. So next week when we take the show here, we'll have some European football action, which it doesn't get any better than that on a Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday night. You got to love that. All right, let's start it off in the Premier League. It'll be Saturday's kickoffs. These are Saturday, obviously November 2nd. That'll be tomorrow if you're listening. 8:30 a.m. will be when this one goes. It'll be Arsenal at Newcastle. Newcastle plus 260, Arsenal minus 110. Total 3. I saw some 2.5s. I saw some 3s. So obviously you want to shop around for the 3 there. Arsenal's got a big game against Inter Milan. They just came off a game against Liverpool, a 2-2 draw. Liverpool was a team we had last week. We did not get that one home. I probably should have given you out Liverpool to score at least 2 goals. They get a late Mohamed Salah goal to tie that. Arsenal just doesn't look right to me right now. They look a little off. They got a game against Inter Milan on Wednesday. They're in a pretty good spot in Europe right now. They are, I believe, 9th in the table, which is pretty strong. Because you think 9th, you're thinking, oh, geez, they're way down. And no, in this, that's when you're getting into the 16-team knockout stage. So actually, I think it's 24 is the way they do it for this first year of the UEFA Champions League, the new format. So I think actually you're in the top 24, but obviously going to be in that top 12 to where you're the higher seeds, of course. But Arsenal in a decent spot. I think they're looking to that. Inter Milan game is a pretty good one. They play them at home. This game on the road at Newcastle. Newcastle can be a tough place to play. So we're going to go under the 3 here. I think this game probably is a 1-1. Probably going to end up being Arsenal in a 2-0 or 1-0 game, but we'll see what happens. 6 of the last 7 in that tilt have went under 6 of the last 7. So Man City at Bournemouth, our next match. It's an 11 a.m. kick. These, of course, adjusted because of the clocks. We fall back this week, which makes all these games seemingly be like an hour different than what they normally would be. We always usually have 7:30 and 10 a.m., or now we're 8:30 and 11 a.m. Manchester City at Bournemouth. Bournemouth has not beaten City in the last 15 meetings. 3 of the last 4 in this clash have went over the total. I don't have a play on this. I imagine play City moneyline, play it over. But City only scored 1 goal last week, so maybe they're a little bit off too after coming back off European break. We'll see what they got. They have a midweek game against, I don't have it written down, but midweek game somewhere. I don't know who it's against, but it wasn't a game of impact. So we'll see here what they can do with Bournemouth. They should win this game pretty easily. Brighton and Liverpool. This one at Anfield. The Reds are minus 250, plus 525 on Brighton, plus 390 on the draw. Don't hate that. I mean, they've already lost the game here at home to Bournemouth, if you can believe it. Liverpool have been playing really well, though, so I can't recommend a play there. I think both teams score in this game. Liverpool's got a big match against Bayer Leverkusen on Tuesday. That game is at Anfield, too, so they're staying home for the last 5 overs here. Maybe a couple of goals each here, maybe a 2-2 draw. I guess I could go as far as saying a draw here. I think Brighton has played okay. They weren't great last week, but I think both teams score in that match. Leicester at Ipswich Town. Ipswich, man, they blew a lead last week to Brentford. They had a catastrophe. They had a big lead. They got a red card. They ended up losing late. They're a plus 120 favorite here against Leicester, who's plus $2, $2.45 on the draw. This could be a draw game. Plus 245 would interest me a tad, but I think both teams score here. Both teams have scored a lot. Both teams give up a lot, so we'll go with at least one goal apiece in this match between Leicester and Ipswich. West Ham and Nottingham Forest. The home team has won the last 6 in this matchup. Nottingham has won the last 3 at home against the Hammers. So Nottingham playing pretty well at home, although they're not scoring like they did last year. They're plus 110 as a favorite here. Plus 215 on West Ham, plus 240 on the draw. I like the under here. I think this game has 1-1 written all over it. West Ham, a team that plays in Europe as well, and they just came off a win against Manchester United, which led to the firing of their coach. But West Ham is just a team they're hard to trust. You just don't know what you're going to get out of them each and every match. So I'll take a shot with the under here. Each team maybe scores 1, but I don't think it's very high scoring, so we'll go under 3 in West Ham and Nottingham. Everton and Southampton, 2 of the bottom feeders here. Last 3 in this matchup have went over the total. The Everton has played a lot better lately. They've played a lot. They have not lost in 4. They had 2 draws and 2 wins there, which is remarkable for a team that was really, really looking like they were going to go down for sure. Southampton, to me, is, if they're not the worst team, they're the second worst team. The road teams won 3 straight in this, and I will be going with Everton. We're taking a shot here. Everton, plus 155, a literal pick 'em here. Both teams plus 155. The draw, plus 235. Maybe a draw no bet on Everton, because this could absolutely be a 1-1 here between Everton and Southampton. But I think Everton's playing better, and I like them here on the road to get the job done against Southampton. Crystal Palace and Wolves. Both these teams tormented us last week. Palace plus 155. Wolves plus 160 at home. 225 on the draw. Palace won 1-0 against Spurs. That hurt us badly. We had Spurs. We were going to have a monster day. We already had a really good day. We're going to have a monster day if Spurs could have come through for us, but it did not happen. And then Wolves against Brighton. They get a draw against Brighton. Brighton should have won that game 5-0, and it ends up being 2-2. So Wolves playing a little bit better. I have no play on this game. I would lean to the under here at the Molyneux, under 3 or under 2.5 there. I think that could be a 1-1, possibly a draw. Sunday's matches, Aston Villa and Spurs. We just talked about Spurs. They're now minus 120 at home, plus 260 for Villa, and $3 on the draw. Spurs were awful last week. Maybe they'll be better this week. I like them this week. Big match for Aston Villa on the road on Wednesday at Club Brugge. Tough place to play. Villa are on top of the Champions League, if you can believe this. They have the best goal differential of anybody. They have 9 points, and they're going to keep it rolling here. If they want to keep it rolling, they're going to be focused on this. That means they're not going to be paying attention to Tottenham. They'll have 1 foot out the door on the way over to Belgium. So we go with Spurs minus 120 at home. Chelsea at Manchester United. Manchester United just fired Erik ten Hag, so he is finally out. I don't know why they even brought him back. It's like Robert Saleh. Why bring him back for a few games when you're going to fire him? Should have fired him in the offseason, brought in a new manager. Plus 160 each way on this one, 240 on the draw. Man, Manchester United, a lot going on here. I hate playing against the team after they just fired the manager, so I don't want to play my Chelsea Blues here, but I'm going to go both teams to score. I think both teams will score in this match. I think Manchester United will come out very fired up. They have a big match against PAOK out of Greece on Thursday, so this is a big week for them. This is a big week for the new manager, and I think you'll see a good effort out of United. Maybe not good enough to win, but they will at least score a goal, so we'll go with Chelsea and Man United, both teams to score. Monday Night Football from Fulham. That is in London. So we got Fulham at home, a even money favorite against Brentford, plus 250 for Brentford. That is an outrageous price. So we're going back to Brentford. They're mispriced. They can score goals. They haven't been as consistent as we would have hoped to, but they definitely play exciting games. If you're looking for some excitement, whether they're either giving them up or they're scoring them, Brentford. I think this game may be an overplay. Over 2.5 could be good. 5 of the last 6 go over in the tilt. Brentford is the pick, though, and both teams to score is probably live in this one as well. So let's make it a trifecta there. Brentford, both teams to score, and over 2.5. That could be a same game parlay for you at 3 o'clock on Monday afternoon. All right, let's get into the Champions League now. These matches on Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. We talked about Aston Villa. They have the big game at Club Brugge. That's on Wednesday. Bruges, very tough at home. It's a raucous crowd to deal with. And Bruges, they'll be ready for this match. They have not had the start that they're hoping for, but they're 26th in the table. They got to do some work here. I think both teams to score here and maybe a lean towards Bruges getting a draw out of this. Villa is not as good as being top of the table here in the Champions League, but they're not bad either. So I like both teams to score a lot in that game. I think there'll be some goals. Liverpool, we mentioned them at Bayern Leverkusen. That game on Tuesday as well. It's Leverkusen plus 325, or I'm sorry, plus 350, 320 on the draw. Liverpool minus 150. I like goals in this. Bayer Leverkusen didn't play very well their last match. They took a draw. That wasn't probably what Xavi Alonso would have wanted, but I think this one has a shot of being a very, very exciting match on Tuesday afternoon. And I like goals, so we're going to go over 3 in Liverpool as they host Bayer Leverkusen out of Germany. A Wednesday match, it's Inter Milan at Arsenal. We talked about Arsenal coming in off of a game against Newcastle on the road. Will Arsenal have any jump in their legs here? They're 6th, or they are 9th in the table. Inter Milan is 7th. So an important game here for both teams. Inter with 7 points and Arsenal with 7 points. I like both teams to score here. Both teams should at least play for a draw, I'd imagine, and both will at least get 1 goal. Benfica, they had a really bad loss at Feyenoord last week, and they are now into 13th in the table. And let's see. I had a note on Benfica here somewhere, but I'm not finding where. Oh, there it is. Bayern Munich. Sorry. So Bayern Munich will take on Benfica. This is at Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich minus $3. So not going to make a play on that. We're not giving any minus $3 prices out here. That's ridiculous. But the last 3 against Benfica in the Champions League competition for Bayern Munich have went over the total. So if you can find a 2.5 out there, Bayern Munich hasn't scored as many goals as they normally have. They have a different manager and a little bit different style. They're not as free-flowing as they normally were. And maybe they're a little bit more responsible, but I still think there's going to be some goals in this game. Benfica coming off the Portuguese land. They're not nearly as good as far as defensively. So I like over 2.5 or 3 there in Bayern Munich and Benfica. Look for Bayern Munich to bounce back a little bit there. You maybe even want to do a money line parlay with an over 2.5 there. I wouldn't hate that one. Atalanta. This is a good one here. Wednesday matchup. Atalanta. Oh, that Bayern Munich one is, I believe, on Tuesday. These are all Tuesday or Wednesday, so check me on that. Atalanta and Stuttgart, the 17th and 18th teams. This is a Wednesday match here. This is Atalanta at Stuttgart. Stuttgart on 4 points, Atalanta on 5, and Atalanta has done a complete transformation. A couple of years ago, they couldn't stop anybody, and they'd have to score 3 and 4 goals to win matches. Well, they've had 2 0-0 draws so far in Champions League competition. They have 5 points. They're undefeated, but they haven't looked very good from a goal-scoring perspective. They have a goal differential of +3, which is solid. They've scored 3 goals. They've scored 3 goals in a win, and they've been 2 0-0 draws. Stuttgart has struggled to score as well, and they're going to -1 right now, and they have had a couple of low-scoring matches. So we're going to go under 3 here. I think this is a tough match. They're both in a pretty decent spot, but they both could do better. So I don't think a 1-1 is out of the mix. But Atalanta has been a force at the back right now. We'll see how they do on the road. Stuttgart, not a place that teams go and give up a lot of goals. So I think Atalanta should be able to hold up all right. So we'll go under 3 in Atalanta and Stuttgart. Dynamo Zagreb from Croatia. That's a Tuesday match. They are at Bratislava from Slovakia. It will be Dynamo Zagreb at even money. Then plus 260 on the draw, plus 250 on Bratislava. We're going to be going with Zagreb here. They have 4 points right now. They're -5 in goal differential, and their only win is against Salzburg. They need this win badly. They're in 22nd spot. They desperately need this. Bratislava, one of the bottom feeders right now. They are not a team. I think they're actually dead last. Yeah, they're dead last in the competition. -10 goal differential. So I think Dynamo Zagreb finds a good spot to get healthy here, scores at least 2 goals and wins this match at even money on Tuesday. We talked about Bayern Munich already. Club Bruges, we talked about them. Let me turn the page here. I got one more match, I think. Yes, here we go. Tuesday match. It's PSV from Eindhoven. That is in the Netherlands against Girona. PSV haven't lost in 7. They're -130 at home, plus 290 on the draw. Girona, plus 330. PSV needs this. They only got 2 points. They got 2 draws and a loss. They need this game badly. Girona they've been okay, but not by any means unbeatable. I really like PSV there at home. They should be very, very live. It's going to be a raucous crowd. Minus 130 is a really good price on PSV. Eindhoven will play them on Tuesday, and that will be our Champions League for this week. The Champions League match day 4 here on Bettor's Last Stand. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about some industry news. We're going to talk about some horse racing. We're going to talk about the election as far as from a betting standpoint, and of course, it's college football and pro football. You don't want to go anywhere. It's Bettor's Last Stand, show 107 from the Pine Room Watchdog Studios in downtown Wheeling. We'll be back after this.
Reminder, this show is for informational and entertainment purposes only. All wagering activities should only be conducted by those 21 years of age or older and within the confines of federal, state, and local law. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, contact 1-800-GAMBLER. That's 1-800-426-2537. All right, men, load the cannons and hold the line. You're listening to Bettor's Last Stand.
Back inside the Watchdog Studios, we got West Virginia out of action again this week. They'll be at Cincinnati next week, a noon kickoff, so no Mountaineers tomorrow for you. But the Browns in action. They will be taking on the Chargers at 1 o'clock on Sunday. And, of course, you can hear that one right here on the Watchdog. We had Kelsey Russo of the Cleveland Browns. She is a staff writer for them, content creator for them. She joined us on Tuesday, as she usually does, and it was nice to actually talk about a win for the Browns this week as they took down the Ravens, but a tough game for them this week as they take on the Chargers at home, see if they can get some momentum heading into the bye week. All right, let's recap a little bit before we get into what we got going on this week in Bettor's Last Stand in episode 107, I should say. We were just under 16 units. So we were up 16 units, plus 1590 to be exact on the week. Pretty good. 2-1-1 in Canadian football. We were 6-3 in the English Premier League. In college football, we were 9-4 with our best bet, Penn State, Wisconsin over. Oh, very frustrating. Could not get that one to go. 9-3 in the NFL. Our best bet with Baltimore and Cleveland over. That one cashes. We are 6-2 in our best bets in the NFL. NASCAR, we had 2 top 10s. Should have had a win. Oh, Ryan Blaney finished his second. Would have been a nice ticket there. F1, we had Mercedes double top 6. And then in baseball, if the World Series were to have ended in 4 games, it wouldn't have been any good for us because we have the Dodgers to win in 5 games and the Dodgers to win in 6 games. So those tickets could still be active, and the Dodgers to win the series as well at minus 130. So we got some live tickets going on there. And if you're looking for the Canadian football or the soccer plays, the English Premier League or the Champions League, visit our website right now, pineroomstudios.com. You can hear the full version of Bettor's Last Stand. I squeeze those into the first segment along with F1, NASCAR, hockey, and baseball because we got some other things to talk about here along with the college and pro football cards this week here on Bettor's Last Stand. So if you're looking for those plays, again, we were pretty good in EPL last week, 6-3. The Champions League is back in action next week, Tuesday and Wednesday matches there. So I gave out some plays for that, and the Canadian football playoffs begin. So check that out, pineroomstudios.com, or you can go to YouTube at the Pine Room Studios. You can find us there, find all the episodes of the Pine Room Podcast, of Soup and Stuff, of this show, Bettor's Last Stand, of the Pine Stiller Girls. You can find all that stuff there on our YouTube page and on our website. Follow us on X at BLS_PRP, and then you can follow the entire Pine Room Studios umbrella at the Pine Room Studios on all of our social media. So we'll keep you apprised of everything that's going on there. And we roll on here for another week of Bettor's Last Stand. It's show 107 here on the Watchdog, getting you ready for high school football action tonight. John Marshall at Point Pleasant. Again, a little bit different format. We're going to go through some of the trends and some of the industry news and notes here, and then we're going to get into a little horse racing talk. We have the Breeders' Cup this week from Del Mar. So that starts, it's actually underway today on Friday. So we'll have some plays mostly for Saturday. And then, again, you can follow all the plays for the weekend for me, BLS_PRP. And then we're going to hit on the election, the presidential election as far as from a betting perspective. We're going to talk a little bit about that, how you can follow this stuff. Unfortunately, you can't bet it here in the United States, but it still is a very intriguing discussion for sure. So we're going to hit on that before we get into NFL week number 9 and college football week number 10. Of course, you can listen to the Watchdog all weekend long next week for lots of comprehensive election coverage. I'm sure we're going to have numerous guests on in the morning show, especially to talk about the lead up to the polls opening on Tuesday, and then the aftermath, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. It might go on forever. So Watchdog is your place, not just for sports, not just for football, but for everything election-oriented, both local, state, and national. All right, bad beats from last week. And you had this one really bad, and this one turned out pretty good for me, but some of our other Pine Room guys did not have such a good time. The crew on the Wheeling Park and Talawanda game was listening to this on the way home, and it burned them. It burned them really badly, so I feel for those guys. Game 1 of the World Series, it was New York and under. If you had that, you had to be sick. It was 2-2 in the ninth. It goes to extra innings. The Yankees take a 3-2 lead in the game, and oh boy, here comes Freddie Freeman. Grand slam to walk it off at 6-3 Dodgers, the final. That really burns you up badly if you had the Yankees, and if you had the under, man, you had it. If you had it at 8.5 even, just a gut punch there. Freddie Freeman walks it off, and he hasn't stopped hitting since. Another bad beat. This one was particularly bad in football. Western Illinois, there were some bad beats that I thought were they really weren't bad beats because you really didn't have a chance in the game, and then you kind of get a little bit of late hope, and then you maybe fizzle out late. To me, that's not a bad beat. Bad beat is one that you had total control of. You're on the right side the whole time or the majority of the time, and it goes bad for you. That's what happened in that baseball game. The under was the right side there for sure, and arguably the Yankees were the right side there too. So Western Illinois and Lindenwood. Oh man, this one. The Lindenwood scores to take the lead with under 2 minutes to go in the game, but the score is negated by a penalty. The next play they fumble, and then actually I'm sorry, it was Western Illinois that scored to take the lead. It gets called back on a penalty. The next play they fumble, so Lindenwood takes it over. Then Lindenwood scores, or I'm sorry, it's 42-38. Lindenwood is leading at this point. So you're catching 8.5 with Western Illinois. Lindenwood's pinned inside their own 5-yard line with less than a minute 30 to go in the game. Oh, no. Lindenwood, running back, breaks like 15 tackles. He goes 96 yards for the touchdown. It puts Lindenwood up 49-38. Okay, that's bad enough. You're not covering. You're down 11. But then you drive all the way down the field. You get a 1st and goal, no good. 2nd and goal, no good. 3rd and goal, Western Illinois fumbles, and Lindenwood recovers, and the game's over. So lots of crazy plays at the end of that game. So tough one there if you were a Western Illinois bettor. I'm assuming that most people that listen to the show probably didn't bet Western Illinois, but you never know. Bad beats can come in all ways, shapes, and forms. All right, industry news. Nevada books saw an $80.9 million profit in September, which was an all-time record. Yes, they just continue to break records month after month. New York had a handle of $2.08 billion for just the month of September. Can you believe that? $2.08 billion in New York, followed by New Jersey with $1.09 billion and Pennsylvania at $81.1 million. So those are your 3 biggest states in the union as far as action goes these days: New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. The Jets and the Giants are a combined 4-33 straight up in primetime games since 2019. Once again, Steelers on Monday Night Football haven't lost since like 1990 on Monday Night Football, which is just also ridiculous. Carolina Panthers 1-9 ATS in their last 10 games and have been at least a 3.5-point underdog in every game this season. That's hard to imagine for an NFL team. A bettor at Caesars Sportsbooks. You talk about bad beats. This one would apply. Although, I think I'd rather just be mad at the Bears. Bettor at Caesars bets had a $120,000 wager on the Bears minus 2.5. And guess what? He lost on that Hail Mary. Bears lose 18-15. Hail Mary, all the things that went wrong, putting a lineman in the backfield that never touched a ball. When you're trailing in the game and they fumble, and just so many things that went wrong. The Bears guy taunting the fans while the play's going on and tipping the ball into the Redskin player's hands. If you haven't seen that, which I'm sure everybody has, it's just just an incredibly exciting ending to a game. So I even give the NFL credit for that one, but that really wasn't anything they did. That was just stupidity and dumb luck, I guess. NFL 12-4 to the over this past week. Over is now 64, 57-2 on the season. Lions head coach Dan Campbell, very impressive stat here. 45-25 ATS in his career, the best mark of any active coach in the Super Bowl era. That's good stuff there. All right, Week 8 lopsided ticket results. Here we go in the NFL. It wasn't very pretty here. I think it was 1-4. 87% on the Vikings. They lose outright. Packers, 88% on them, -4.5, lost. Lions was the one winner, -10.5, 86% of tickets on the Lions. That one was good. Ravens, -8.5, 82% on them. They lose outright at Cleveland. 77% on the Texans, -8.5. That is a loss as well. Lopsided tickets this week. It's a little tighter this week. There's only 4 of them that made the over 70% range. 90% on the Redskins this week. That's too much, -3.5. The Bills, -6, 86% of tickets on the Bills. 77% on Philadelphia, -7.5. I'd be very careful with that one. We'll talk about that in the NFL card. 72% on New Orleans, -7. Again, I don't understand New Orleans. I know they're playing a bad team, but my God, New Orleans isn't very good themselves. So be careful. The NFL is starting to turn a little bit back to where these favorites in the high ticket count, the lopsided tickets, are not coming in. College, not so much. Best college teams ATS, though, before we get to that, Army 6-0-1, BYU 7-1, Indiana 7-1. They cover again. Marshall 6-1, Pitt 6-1. Pitt stays undefeated. Western Kentucky 6-1, Minnesota 6-1-1. Pitt versus SMU. This one looks like a public versus the pros type play. Pros versus Joes, if you will. SMU is where the pros are at -7. I'll be on that as well. When we talk about that one in the college card, I'll explain why. SMU is really good. If you haven't seen them play, they're really good, surprisingly good. All right, here we go. Here are the lopsided ticket counts from last week. It was BYU, 92% on BYU, -1.5. That was a winner. 91% on Indiana, -6.5. That was a winner. 90% on Boise, -3.5. That was a winner. 90% on UConn, -6.5. That was a winner. 88% on Colorado, -5.5. That was a winner. So you start out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-0. 85% on Nevada, -2.5. That is a loser. They lost outright. 81% on UTSA. Not had a great season, -8. That is a loser as well. 80% on Illinois, +21.5. They got crushed by Oregon. That is a loss. And then 80% on Miami of Florida, -21 against Florida State. They barely squeaked by and win by 22 points. So pretty solid numbers in the college plays. The lopsided ticket counts seem to be getting there in college like they have most of the season, whereas the NFL is a little trickier. Week 10 lopsided ticket counts. Here you go. Navy -11, 94% on Navy, 92% on Indiana, -7.5, 88% on North Carolina, -2.5, 86% on Army, -22.5, 86% on Kansas State, -13. 84% on Oregon, -15. 84% on Vanderbilt, +6.5. 83% on Illinois, +3. 83% on Texas A&M, -2.5. 93% on Oklahoma, -34.5 against Maine. And what might be the only game that Oklahoma can win for the rest of the year, sadly, for cousin Jake. All right, rolling along here. Bettor's Last Stand, show number 107, coming to you here on the Watchdog Network, getting you ready for football action, high school football action. That is, it's Point Pleasant hosting John Marshall tonight, our lone game here on the Watchdog Network. So you can hear that across all the stations, both stations, WKKX, WVLY, and on watchdognetwork.com, as Ross, Coach Trevelyan, Coach Heinerman will be bringing you the call from Mothman territory. Again, if you missed the soccer and CFL plays, NASCAR, hockey, baseball, all that, F1, you can go back and check us out, pineroomstudios.com or at the Pine Room Studios on YouTube for those plays. All right, so I told you the election obviously is next week, and I think everybody in the world is at least somewhat aware of that. And the Watchdog, you're home for great election coverage all week long. You can check it out, start with Howard in the mornings, and taking you up all week through the election, through on election day, and all the way through the aftermath. But we're going to talk a little bit about the betting side of things here on Bettor's Last Stand as we head into the final stretch. It's the last few days here, and we'll see what happens. But right now, to sum it up best for you in the United States, you can't bet on this stuff legally. So you got to look into the European markets, into the offshore markets. Now, why you can't bet on it here, I really don't know. I guess maybe because we can't even have an election that runs normal without controversy. So maybe that could be a problem. But I'm a proponent of having it. I think we should have it, and hopefully someday we can make that a reality. But for the time being, let me take you through the international markets and where things stand right now. Donald J. Trump is a minus $2 favorite right now over Kamala Harris, who's plus 175. These are in several different books across all of Europe and in the offshore regions. Now, in Europe, this is one of the biggest betting days ever for them, each and every 4 years, basically, when it's a presidential election and the major elections in the United States. One of their top producing days for the books over in Europe. Everybody will have a little piece of the action as they watch for the chaos that is the United States elections. You need 270 votes, of course, to win the Electoral College, to win the presidency here in the United States. Trump should have 219 accounted for, with states that I would say are, if they're not certainties, they're 99.9s. Most of them are certainties. But he'll need 51 votes on election night to get to 270. Harris has a likelihood of 225 of certain electoral votes. She'll need 45 votes. 93 votes will be unaccounted for on election night if you count the 7 swing states. And I think that's really what it's going to come down to. There's really not anything else other than that. You can try to pretend that New York's in play. It's not. Florida, not really in play with their 30 electoral votes. Virginia, I know Republicans have tried to say Virginia's in play. They do have a Republican governor, but I don't know. I think there's a lot of anti-Trump sentiment in those regions outside the D.C. area, so I don't think you're going to get Virginia home. That would be, if Virginia would come in and New York would even be close, then probably you're going to be seeing Trump return to the White House. But we shall see. So I don't even count Florida and Virginia as swing states. Harris, a huge favorite, about $7 in Virginia. Trump, a $25 favorite in Florida. So we're not even going to talk about those ones. All right, so here are the states. These are the states that will determine everything on election night. It's Arizona, and there are 11 electoral votes right now. Donald Trump minus 310 in Arizona. Kamala Harris plus 250. Georgia, 16 electoral votes. Trump minus 275. Harris plus 220. Michigan, 15 electoral votes. Harris is a favorite here, minus 120. Trump even money. Nevada, 6 electoral votes. Trump a slim favorite here, minus 210. Harris plus 170. North Carolina, 16 electoral votes. Trump minus 275. Kamala Harris plus 220. Pennsylvania, this may be the one right here. Now, there's different paths, which we'll talk about here briefly in a moment, but Pennsylvania seems to be the one state, which everybody would have guessed this, that probably is going to decide it. It's probably going to be Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania, there are 19 electoral votes. Donald Trump, minus 160 as of now. Kamala Harris, plus 130. And then Wisconsin, 10 electoral votes. Trump, minus 145. Harris, plus 120. So the most likely path to victory for Donald Trump is this. So he has 219 electoral votes that I would say are almost, they're guaranteed. He then, if he could take North Carolina, and it's 16, and Georgia, and it's 16, and Pennsylvania, and it's 19, that would get him to 270, and that would get the job done. That is his most likely path to a win. But you know what? Pennsylvania's in play, and it's pretty tight. He's only a minus 160 favorite, so maybe he can't work out Pennsylvania. So he's got to go like this. He's got to get Arizona then, which did not turn out well for him last time. He's got to get North Carolina, which is up in the air, and they just had devastating floods in a high Trump portion of that state. Georgia, a state that's very iffy and had a lot of problems the last election. And then Wisconsin, which is the one northern Rust Belt state that he actually probably has a shot in, but that's going to be tough. That would get him to 272. So Wisconsin, those 10 electorals may get him over the top. Arizona, Georgia, Nevada, North Carolina, and Wisconsin, that is also another path to victory there. That would get him to 278. So those are Trump's most likely paths to victory. Here's what's not going to be enough. It's not going to be good enough for him to just win Arizona, Nevada, Georgia, and North Carolina. That only gets him to 268. So he's got to have a state like Wisconsin in their 10 to get him over the top. So this is going to be highly stressful if you're into this kind of stuff. I think this is such an intriguing process. Nothing like it in the world anywhere. If you can take a step backwards and not be so ensconced in your candidate and actually look at it from this side of things, how the votes are tallied, how things go in, the counties that are good and are going to be coming in later. There's so many things in play when you start to formulate who might be alive in these states, and you see where a candidate performed, X percent 4 years ago, and now they're performing better or worse in that county. That can also be an indicator of how this is going to turn out. Will we know that night? I don't know. I certainly would think we should as a country as civilized as ours, or we're supposed to be as civilized as ours. All right, so Trump's not going to get it done with Arizona, Nevada, Georgia, and North Carolina. Not going to be enough. Arizona, Georgia, and Pennsylvania, not even enough. So they would need Nevada. So you got to think, though, if Trump can't win North Carolina and Georgia, he's done. He's done. And if Kamala Harris cannot win Pennsylvania, she is done. So let's talk about her path to victory. Kamala Harris comes in here 225 with pretty much 225 votes locked up right now, 225 votes. What her easiest path to victory is Michigan, Nevada, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin. Now, Michigan, she is a favorite in. A small favorite, but she is favored, and I think she will win Michigan. Nevada, I expect her to win Nevada. She's plus 170 right now. Matter of fact, if you're able to bet on that, I would bet Kamala Harris to win Nevada. I think she'll win Nevada. But who knows? I don't know. There's a lot of things have changed in 4 years, so maybe not. But Nevada was not a state where I felt very good about Trump the last time, so we'll see. Pennsylvania, that's a toss-up. Right now, Trump minus 160, plus 130. You know when you bet games, minus 160 versus plus 130 is basically a pick 'em, a 3-point or less game, so that could go either way. So I don't really feel very confident about that one either. And then Wisconsin, moderately confident there. Trump minus 145, plus 120. So again, a pick-em type game. So Kamala Harris gets the job done with Michigan, Nevada, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. She won't even need to worry about North Carolina, and she won't really need to worry about Georgia or Arizona. So I think that is her most likely path to victory. Her second most likely path to victory would probably be Wisconsin, Nevada, and Michigan. And then she would either need Pennsylvania or North Carolina, which, again, that would kind of go into the first outcome. She would go to 256 and then add on, she would get to 275 if she got Pennsylvania, and 272 if she got North Carolina. So those are her most likely paths to victory. Not enough for Harris, though. If she gets Michigan and Pennsylvania and Wisconsin, she only gets to 269. So there's a situation where she wins Pennsylvania and still can't get the job done. Arizona, Michigan, Nevada, Wisconsin, if she won all those, she'd be at 267. So that keeps her 3 votes short. And then Georgia, Michigan, and Wisconsin, she would need Nevada then, or she's done at 266. So lots of intrigue there. You can check these markets out across the world and, watch them. Watch them on election night, too. It can kind of give you an indicator, although I will say 8 years ago when it was the Clinton-Trump election, they really had these markets bad. Like they missed badly on these. I mean, Hillary Clinton was a big favorite even when Donald Trump won Florida in live wagering. So you never know, but they've perfected it. The last time they did a pretty good job. The markets were pretty good, and I think they'll be pretty good here again on Tuesday. All right, so that's our election talk. Again, keep it tuned to the Watchdog for comprehensive election coverage all week long. Starting next week should be a very, very exciting week, but it's also going to be a nerve-wracking week for many people across the country. Just lots at stake here as we head into the presidential election on Tuesday and local elections too. I'm going to talk a little bit about this on the Pine Room show on Tuesday on Election Day. Talk about some intriguing races and things like that are going on a little bit more closer to home, as well as some national Senate races that maybe people are wanting to keep an eye on. All right, let's shift over to another one of our favorite pastimes here on Bettor's Last Stand, show number 107. It'll be horse racing. And yes, we got horse racing coming to you from the Del Mar Thoroughbred Club on Friday and Saturday. It's the Breeders' Cup World Championships. These are the best of the best. It's the Super Bowl of horse racing. It's like playing the entire NFL playoffs in like 2 days with the Super Bowl. Probably playing like 6 Super Bowls in the same day. Lots of things to draw on here. I'll have my picks posted at BLS_PRP, but there's a few races that I wanted to mention. The final 5 races on Saturday's card, these again out in San Diego. So you're looking at a 5:41 post time for the Breeders' Cup Classic and that is race number 8 on the card. And you're going to see some horses in here that you're going to kind of be familiar with. You have several horses that were on the Triple Crown trail for the last couple of years, including Forever Young, the Japanese horse. That was the horse that was my pick to win the Kentucky Derby, and he ran a very good. I think did he finish third or fourth? He ran a really strong stretch run. He got interfered with pretty good. Dermasotogake, my pick from last year, also from Japan. He got it going way too late in his race, but ran some very good races since then. Tapit Trice, you're familiar with. Sierra Leone was the runner up at the Kentucky Derby earlier this year and has been a very big force on the 3-year-old circuit throughout the season. All right, so you got Fierceness as the morning line favorite. Fierceness is going to be a horse that a lot of people are going to get to know. They've known him for a while. He's a very dangerous horse. He's the 9 horse, I believe. Johnny Velasquez, Todd Pletcher. It's going to be a really dangerous horse here. Do I like him? No, because you got to remember here, one thing about Breeders' Cup, I'm not betting favorites very often. The favorite will have to be overwhelming, and I'll have to really like the favorite to be able to bet him because there's so much value. I know the word value is overused in betting. It really is. A little bit of value here, a little bit of value. No, I'm talking extreme value. If you can play $2 exactas here at the Breeders' Cup for even if you spend $20 a race, even if you spend $10 a race, you can make decent money here because these prices are going to be very big. You're not going to have a whole lot of 6 to 5s and 1 to 9s. You'll have none of that because these are the very best. Every horse is going to look beautiful. Every horse is going to come out onto the track looking just immaculate, just dappled head to toe, just everything looking perfect on every one of these horses. So how do you separate them? Well, you got to try to find spots. You got to find situations where they were prepping him or her for the entire time for this race. Different surface changes, cutbacks, track variants, and the track that they, if they're Del Mar horses, West Coast horses, they've ran on this track and had success. You got trainers who come over here with the very best of the best. Some do very well. Some have not done well. You have certain jockeys that ride better in these races. I mean, there is just so much to be had here, but there's a lot of money to be made, and I'm not promising you anything here, but we're going to take a stab at a few races here. Again, back to the Breeders' Cup Classic. This is the big event. This is the Classic. It is not the final race of the card, which most people would think, but this is a 541 post. I said Forever Young is in this race. Fierceness is in this race, the morning line favorite. He won the Travers and the Jim Dandy. He's really good. I would expect the pace to be pretty fast. Dermasotogake, the Japanese horse, he's going to go right to the front. Fierceness is going to be up there, and then a horse called Arthur's Road, the 12 horse, I would expect to be up on the pace. The 14 next. He's the horse that everybody's talking about in horse racing circles everywhere. Everybody's telling me next. This is for William Cowens is the trainer. And actually, an interesting thing here about the jockey Machado. He's been in the news a little bit lately, too, for some interesting riding. But this horse is dangerous. I don't love this horse. He's getting a lot of interest right now. He's 5-2 on the morning line. And I don't know. Or actually, I'm sorry, he's 8-1, but I saw some 5-2s at some other shops, some non-parimutuel shops. They have him at 5-2. So that would actually make him the favorite in the race over Fierceness. Fierceness, the favorite in the parimutuel wagering at 3-1. So take that into account. Looking at international markets for this is never a bad thing. So if you have a site that you want to go to and look at the books in Europe, you can get some good advice to see where some of the money's going from some very sharp people across the pond. Here's another horse that's drawing a lot of attention here. The horse's name is City of Troy. And City of Troy is an interesting horse. He's 5-2 on the morning line, but we have no idea what to expect out of him because he's never run on dirt before. Now, this horse has proven everything there is to prove on grass. He's going to be an incredible sire, and it looks like they're swinging one last time here, one first and last time, to try to get him a win or a really good run on dirt for Aidan O'Brien and Ryan Moore, which is a lethal combination. If you have that on turf, it's a must play, but on dirt, you just don't know. City of Troy comes in. He is the son of Justify, the Triple Crown winner. So if Justify can have a multi-champion on grass in City of Troy and then follow that up with a Breeders' Cup Classic win, the stud fees for this will be at record level. So that's what they're looking for. He's never run on dirt. He's got the pedigree to do it, but Is he going to like the kickback here in the North American? Is he going to be able to break from the gate? His post is down and tight. He's in the 3-hole. That could be a problem. So I can't take a shot with this horse. He might just be the best horse, but he'll have to prove it to me. So I'll get beat if City of Troy wins. It doesn't mean that I don't think that horse is really, really good. And if all things were even, he probably would win this race. But I'm going to go back to my guy Forever Young. I think this horse is really strong. He's kind of an overlay, I would say. He's about 6-1, but some markets across the pond, I'm seeing 12-1. I'm also seeing Sierra Leone. I had both those horses in the Kentucky Derby. They both ran very, very well. I look for them to follow that up here today or on Saturday. And Forever Young, the number 1, and Sierra Leone, the 11. Those are going to be my top 2 picks in the Breeders' Cup Classic. I'll put up a couple of other tickets that I'm going to use in that race and some underneath horses on BLS_PRP. Race number 9 is the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf Sprint. This one is 6:25 Eastern Time, coming to you again from Del Mar. Okay, this one's going to be a little bit of a slower pace here, and it's a 1 3/16 mile. Oh no, I'm sorry, that can't be right. This is supposed to be the turf. No, I'm sorry, it's not the sprint. It's the full Filly Mare Turf. I was going to say 1 mile and 3/16. That's not going to be a sprint. So anyway, that's good anyway because we wouldn't want really Godolphin runners in a sprint. So Godolphin, the national power in horse racing, one of the best international conglomerates that there is. If you see Godolphin blue on horses, chances are they're going to be runners for sure. Charlie Appleby, the head trainer for Godolphin, he brings in a pair here that I like. Beautiful Love, the Irish bred. He is the number 1 horse. He is a closer. He's ridden by O'Shane Murphy, who's an exceptional international rider. He's actually ridden a little bit in California in recent years to continue to get used to these tracks. Very, very dangerous at 20-1. He will be a use for me for sure. And then the number 3, Cinderella's Dream. He is a British bred. William Buick on the mount. He is the number 1 rider for the Godolphin contingent, also a closer. So you get a little bit of slower pace here, but it's not going to be a crawling pace. And one thing that these Godolphin horses and Charlie Appleby does better than anybody is they don't even need pace to come and win from the clouds. These horses just fly over the grass. I don't know what they do to them. I don't know how they get them, but they bring in runners, and these horses run. So do not ignore the number 1, Beautiful Love, or the 3, Cinderella's Dream, in race number 9 on Saturday, the Filly and Mare Turf. And let's talk about a couple other ones. Aiden O'Brien, exceptional on the grass. He trains City of Troy, which we talked about in the last race. He comes in with a couple of horses as well. Yalang. I'm not really sure how to say this, but it's Ylang. Something like that. Nonetheless, he is a 6 horse in the race number 9. It'll be Ryan Moore on the mount, 10-1. This horse has really good tactical speed, could absolutely be a player. He means he could be a little bit forward. He also has closing kick to finish. Got to be a use as well. I know you're going to have to use a few here. You're going to have to spend like $20 probably if you're going to do exactas here, but that's okay because if you can hit one of these, you're going to pay for your entire weekend. The number 7, Content. He's an Irish bred, ridden by Frankie Dettori, also trained by Aiden O'Brien. He'll be a mid-pack runner. Frankie Dettori getting very, very, very good at Del Mar, one of the best riders in the world ever, and he has been here in the United States quite a bit lately, racing out on the West Coast, so he is going to have a little bit of knowledge that on this track that some of the other guys may not have, may help him here, so Content, a definite player here. Another interesting long shot, the number 9, Anisette. He's a Great Britain, or she's a Great Britain bred. She's trained by Leonard Powell. Umberto Rispoli, very good turf rider and a very good West Coast turf rider. I would not bet Rispoli on dirt very often, but on grass, he elevates his game. He's like the Jose Lozcano of the West Coast. This is a closing horse. I think if he gets the right trip, he could win. He's got a very good record at the Del Mar track, the turf track. So look for the number 9, Anisette, to hang around. Also thought the number 2, Full Count Felicia, 12-1. Kevin Attard and Irad Ortiz on this one. He might get an easy lead here. So if Irad's able to control, Irad not the best on the front, in my opinion. Some other guys way better, Lozcano, Rosario, and so forth. But Full Count Felicia could be dangerous. 12-1, maybe she gets an easy lead, has something left. Irad Ortiz, best there is. Maybe he gets it done. Race number 10, the Breeders' Cup Sprint, 7:05. This is a fast pace. This is a short race. This is only going to be a 6 furlong, so it's going to be a quick one. Federal Judge at 3-1. It's going to be really tough to beat for Brad Cox and Irad Ortiz. I don't know if I recommend trying to beat him, but if you want to, Nakatomi, the number 4, could be dangerous. Wesley Ward, Tyler Gaffleone, who's really, really good. He's 6-1 on the morning line. He ran second to Federal Judge at the Phoenix, which is a big turf race or a big dirt race at Keeneland earlier in the summer. So take a look at Nakatomi. And then the 10, Mulligan for Rudy Bissett and Flavian Pratt. He's 7-2, so he's like a second choice, I think. His outside post could give him like a clear run. And I know I don't really love outside posts, but this horse seems to be pretty decent from the gate, so he can get over there, get positioned, and then have a nice clean path on the outside from the number 10 hole. So those are the plays for race number 10, the Breeders' Cup Sprint. Race number 11, the Breeders' Cup Mile, 7:45. Not a lot of pace data here. You got a lot of horses coming in from all parts of the world. You really just don't know what you're going to get from this race. But that's okay, because you're going to find some value here. This is a 1-mile turf race here. Exceptional field once again. My best bet, probably my best bet on the card for the weekend, the number 6. He's a British bred. He's for Godolphin. Charlie Appleby and William Buick. He's 7-2 on the morning line. His name, Notable Speech, the number 6 horse. He's off a lackluster effort last time. And one thing you'll learn about Godolphin horses, as sometimes when they don't show or they have a flat race, they kind of plateau. They really, really, really come alive the next one. Sometimes they're spotted that way on purpose, where they're ready to run a little bit ahead of their cycle to kind of just give them a freshening, but not really have them cranked to win. This horse is going to be cranked and ready to go. It's got tactical speed. It can be a little forward. It can be behind. It can be mid-pack. I think after that bad race in France, this horse is coming. I think that was just a spot race just to kind of prepare for this one. I really, really like Notable Speech at 7-2. Race 11 on Saturday at the Breeders' Cup Mile. The number 4, Diego Velasquez. Yes, that's the horse's name, not the rider. Irish bred for Aidan O'Brien and Ryan Moore, 8-1. Back-to-back good wins in Ireland. The distance might be a little bit short for him. He's going to be coming up against the line. He might be a horse to use underneath, because I think if he had a little bit more, a 16th more or something, I would really like him. And then Johannes. Really dangerous horse here. This is a local horse. Tim Yakteen, Umberto Rispoli, again, a guy that I really love on the grass. I'm telling you, he's extremely dangerous. So take a look at this horse, Johannes. He's the number 9 horse. He's 9-2. He'll probably drift up. I think you'll get a good 7-8-1 on this horse by the time things go. Very good at Del Mar. I like this horse. I think he could be live. He gets a good trip. He's got a shot. And then the final race we'll talk about here on Bettor's Last Stand, it'll be the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile, 8:25 Eastern Time. Final race of the day. Should be a really fast pace here. My top pick, the number 3, Fool Serrano. He's an Argentinian bred. Joe L. Rosario and John Sadler are the combinations on this one. And this horse has a really good record. He had a really good second in the Pacific Classic at Del Mar in late August, and I think he is primed and ready to go here. Saudi Crown, the number 1 horse, who is obviously on the inside post, going to be kind of dangerous. He's 5-1. Brad Cox, Florent Giroux. He was in Maidon in March, so that's a long trip for a horse. He's come back. He had one lackluster performance. He hasn't raced since, so I don't know what to expect. But I think if they're getting him ready for this, I think he could be ready to explode. So Saudi Crown, 5-1. Can't talk you off him. And then number 9, Domestic Product, 7-2. He is the favorite with Chad Brown and Flavian Pratt. Don't love him. Like him, I would probably play against him. And then Muth, the number 10. You've heard of Muth before. He's a Baffert horse. Juan Hernandez in to ride. Good at Del Mar, but not the price that I want at 9-2. So we're going Fool Serrano there and Saudi Crown in race number 12. I'll have all these posted at BLS_PRP if you want more structured tickets, maybe some pick 4s and some other stuff that we'll have up. All right, moving it along here on Bettor's Last Stand. Show number 107 coming to you on the Watchdog, getting you ready for high school football action. Point Pleasant hosts John Marshall tonight on WatchdogNetwork.com, WVOY, and WKKX. We'll have the pregame show coming up for you here at a little bit past 6 o'clock, getting you ready for JM and Point Pleasant, and talking about some of the big games in Ohio as the first round of the playoffs begin tonight. Don't forget this portion of the program brought to you by our good friends at the Brownie House. Visit yesbrownies.com today. Use the promo code PINEROOM for 20% off your order. Get some delicious brownie treats here for the as your football season winds down. But you know what? You can have brownies at any time of the year. That is for sure. All right, let's get into NFL. That's where you want to go. Hopefully we can find some decent plays here for you. We're coming in off a 9-3 NFL week, so we'll take that anytime our best bet gets there with the Browns and the Ravens over the total last week. All right, so let's get it going here right away. Let's not waste any time. Enough with the small talk, as we like to say here. And we're going to get down to business. We're going to be in business here for you. Houston and the Jets, can't talk about that one. I like the Jets. A lot of people on Houston here. Looks too easy for people, so we'll be on the other side of that. We'll see what happens. You'll either know I'm wrong or right here by the time you listen to this. New England at Tennessee, 1 o'clock kick. Tennessee minus 3.5, total 38. Tennessee's lost 3 in a row. They're a mess. I lean Tennessee in this game. New England off a very big win over the Jets, but, man, it's hard to back Tennessee. So I would lean Tennessee, but defensively, we're going to go under 38 in this game. I think it's a low-scoring game. Both defenses pretty good. Both quarterbacks, I don't know. Drake May's been okay, but the Titans' defense isn't terrible. It's just I think they're kind of losing their swagger here a little bit, so to speak. Could be a low-scoring game. We'll go under the 38 in Patriots and Titans. Saints at Panthers. What a matchup this one is. It'll be the Saints on the road laying 7. The total 43.5. The Saints have won the last 3 against Carolina. This opened 3.5. It's up to 7, as we said. Carolina's the worst of the worst. They traded Deontay Johnson to the Ravens the other day. Probably going to have to sell off anybody else they can. They're a disaster. I don't know if it's Andy Dalton. I don't know if it's Bryce Young. If it's Andy Dalton, I think it's worth a shot with Carolina. If it's Bryce Young, probably not. Maybe a little lean to the under. 7 of the last 10 in this series have stayed under, but I'll be passing on this game. 2 pretty bad teams. Dallas and Atlanta. They're at Atlanta. Atlanta minus 2.5. The total 52. Total up from 48.5 to 52. That's a lot. I'm going with Dallas here. I don't like the Falcons. I don't think they're that good. I know Dallas kind of sputtered last week off the bye. Usually Mike McCarthy decent in those spots. But it's put up or shut up time for the Cowboys. I like them on the road catching near a field goal against a very overrated Atlanta team. If they played the Bucs every game, they'd be very good, but they're not going to get them here. They're going to get Dallas. So I'm on the Cowboys plus the right around a field goal. Miami at Buffalo. Division matchup here. Buffalo minus 6. The total 50. The Miami Dolphins are on a 1-9 ATS run. That is horrible. They had Tua back last week. It didn't even matter. They were a mess. They take a terrible safety, blow the game, and a game they absolutely should have won. Buffalo, they've won 5 straight in the series. They're very good. They had a very nice business-like win and a messy weather out at Seattle. Got the job done there. I lean the Bills, but I can't recommend it. If it comes down lower than 6, I probably would take a shot with the Bills. This is the last shot for the Dolphins. I don't know if they can travel to Buffalo, although it's not going to be super cold, so that will help them, but it might be the end of the line for the Dolphins. They could be on a fire sale pace here by the middle of next week in the trade deadline if they lose this game badly. Vegas at Cincinnati. Cincinnati again. Is there a team that lays more points than the Cincinnati Bengals? I'd love to total that up, and I'm going to do that. The aggregate amount of points they've laid in games this year for the record that they actually have. Bengals losing in last week as a favorite. This team just can't be favored by 7.5. I know the Raiders stink, but Cincinnati stinks too. So I'll take the Raiders plus 7.5 in an NFL game. That is just downright ridiculous that the Bengals are laying 7.5 again with the record that they have. So we're going with the Raiders. They are, it's a 46.5 point total there. Probably to the under, but don't love it. Washington at the Giants. Ooh, be careful here. Giants catching 3.5 at home. So Washington, a 3.5 point favorite. 43.5 is the total. Commanders off an incredibly emotional win. It looked like they were done. The Hail Mary comes through. They're the talk of the town. They're the talk of the sports world. That can be tough. Now you got to go on the road to the Giants, who are really sputtering right now, but have a few dangerous players, enough that can make you, make you concerned. And if you're Washington, you're not there. You're not good enough yet to take these games lightly. You're good, but you're not there yet to where you can, mess around and still win on the road. I lean the Giants here. I think 3.5. I think it's fair. I think this might be a field goal game. Commanders still the better team, but the Giants at home, I'll take a shot. But I like this game under the 43.5. I think both defenses have improved a little bit, and I like under 43.5 in a division game between the Skins and the Giants. Denver at Baltimore. Baltimore minus 9.5. The total 45.5, up from the opener of 43.5. I couldn't find a Baltimore team total yet, but that's what I'll be interested in. I think Baltimore will score into the mid-30s in this game. You got to remember something. The Denver Broncos have a very inflated record. And I know I've been down on the Broncos, and I'm probably not being very fair to Sean Payton and blah, blah. Because he's the greatest coach ever by most accounts. I don't know where that ever came from, but people talk about him like he is the very best of the best, whether he's Tom Landry or Bill Belichick. He is not. But Denver's had a really, really bad schedule. Listen to some of the offenses they played against here. So they had Seattle and Geno Smith on the first game. That's not a very good offense. They lost that game. The Steelers with Justin Fields, terrible offense. You know that. You listen here. We're a local market for Pittsburgh. Not a good offense prior to Russell Wilson coming on. They did beat Tampa and Baker Mayfield. Decent. They beat the Jets, which is a very dysfunctional offense. Then they beat the Raiders, which is one of the worst offenses there is. O'Connell and Minshew seeing time in that game. Then they lose to the Chargers with Justin Herbert. That is not a great offense. And then they play New Orleans. They beat them with a horrendous offense and Spencer Rattler. And then they beat Carolina, which is the worst offense in the league. So we gotta hold our horses here on the Denver defense. Do I think it's terrible? No. Do I think it's really good? No. Do I think it's great? Absolutely not. So this doesn't make much sense to me as far as the point total here. I like the Ravens in this game. I'm not going to lay 9.5, but I think the Ravens are going to score in the mid-30s in this game, the low to mid-30s. So playing their team total over, I think, is a really good play here. Denver's defense is smoking mirrors. They're pretend. In Baltimore, one thing we do know about them is their offense is pretty good. Now, will they get decimated by Bo Nix? I would certainly hope not, but their secondary is pretty terrible. So maybe you just want to play over for the game, 45.5. I couldn't talk you off that one. Chargers at Browns. You can hear it right here on the Watchdog, 1 o'clock kick on Sunday. It'll be the Chargers -2 on the road, the total 42. Some key losses. JOK out on defense. Denzel Ward out on defense for the Browns. That's going to be trouble. So I like the over here. Jameis Winston is in at quarterback. Browns offense looked very, very good last week. We gave you those overs on Njoku, Jerry Jeudy. Tillman gets there. Play them all over again because Jameis is going to throw that ball around. He'll turn it over, but he's going to play. He's going to throw it around. Guys are going to get stats here. Let's go over 42 in Browns-Chargers. You're going to hear an exciting one here on the Watchdog on Sunday from the Dog Pound. Jacksonville at Philadelphia. 7.5 total. 46. Now the Jags starting to move some pieces here. They're starting to give up on the season. A little bit of a concern, but Philadelphia's win over the Bengals last week, I would not be real excited if I'm an Eagle fan. Yes, they beat the hell out of the Bengals in the second half. Bengals are terrible. We've told you that from day one here. Back in July, we were telling you the Bengals were a fraud. And one of the few places that you would have heard that, but we were right about one thing. That was that. But Philadelphia's not that good. I don't think this has fixed a lot of their problems. They still got a lot of issues. Jalen Hurts, he looked okay in the second half, but, man, he's still a little iffy. I would take Jacksonville plus 7.5 here. That's a lean. That's not an official play. I'm going to see what that number does, see what Jacksonville's got roster-wise, because they may be in tank mode here, which would worry me a little bit. But don't believe what you're seeing out of the Eagles from last week. Are they a playoff team? Absolutely. Will they win the East? Probably still maybe track down the Redskins. But they're not the dominant team they were a couple years ago. That is for sure. So we're leading Jacksonville plus the 7.5 there in Philly on Sunday. Bears and Cardinals. An interesting matchup here to be Bears at Cardinals. This is now a pick. It opened Bears 1.5 down to a pick. 44.5 is the total. Bears off just a devastating loss. Back-to-back wins for the Cardinals. So I like the Bears in this spot. I think this is a good spot for the Bears. Can they pick up their heads, bounce back? I think there could be some points in this game too, so possibly a lean to the over, but I really like the Bears on the road here to get the job done, get back in the win column. Again, I'm not a Bears guy. We had them under. We had them to miss the playoffs. We still do, but this is a spot where I think they can come and they can beat Arizona on the road after Arizona's won 2 in a row. Unlikely winners of 2 in a row, and the Bears off a terrible loss last week. Lions at Packers. Ooh, NFC North showdown here. Lions -3.5 to total 48. The Lions have won 4 out of 5 against Green Bay. No Jordan Love in this game, it looks like. That's why it went from Packers pick with a small money line lean to the Packers to 3.5 in favor of the Lions. I'm on the Lions here. There's no way they're going to tell me Malik Willis is going to outdo Jared Goff. It's just not going to happen. Packers defense, not great. I'll lay the 3.5 at the Lions. They are the best team in that division. That's a good division, but they are the best team without question. Rams at Seahawks, big division battle here. Seahawks on the road, -1.5. Total 48.5. The Rams have covered 8 out of 10 in this series, and 8 of the last 10 in the series have stayed under the total. That's where we're going here. I think Seahawks get a couple guys back in their secondary. I like that. The Rams are getting healthier now. I think this is a good game. It's under 48.5 for me. Indianapolis at Minnesota. Joe Flacco in. That's a good thing. That's what we like to see because Colts aren't bad when they have Flacco. 5.5 is the number. Minnesota -5.5. Minnesota's hit a little bit of a flat spot here. They're not a bad team. They got to pick it up a little bit. 5.5, a little too many. I lean Colts, but my favorite play here is over the 46.5. I think this is a really, really high-scoring game. Flacco and Darnold, they'll be slinging it around. Some points on the board in that one. Monday Night Football, Tampa at Kansas City. Kansas City -9, total 45.5. Like the over here. I know Tampa's without some receivers, but I think they can get it going enough. They've seemed like they are a team that can play Kansas City, pretty well. So I think they'll move the ball a little bit. I know Kansas City's defense is very good, but the unfamiliarness with Tampa, I think, will lead to some plays possibly for Baker Mayfield in that passing game. Plus, if he gets down, he may have to throw it every play. It may lead to an over. I don't think 45.5 is too high, so I'll take a shot. I'm usually a Chiefs under guy right now. 45.5 I think is fair. I think this game comes in right around 48, 49 points. All right, and that does it for us on the NFL card for what are we? Week number 9 already, if you can believe that. Hard to imagine. We're in week number 9 in the NFL, and we're in week number 10 here in college football. But let me remind you, you are listening to the Watchdog Network. It's Bettor's Last Stand, show number 107, coming to you from the Watchdog Studios, getting you ready for high school football action between John Marshall and Point Pleasant tonight. You can hear it on the Watchdog Network, WVLY, WKKX. No Mountaineers tomorrow for you. They'll be back in action next week at noon against Cincinnati, but the Brownies are here. We just talked about that game against the Chargers, and that'll be coming your way 1 o'clock Eastern time right here on the Watchdog. Wheeling Park and Wheeling Central back in action next week. Pre-game show coming up next for John Marshall, and just a full-scale high school rundown all across Ohio and West Virginia. And we'll talk some Ohio playoffs and talk some of the big games in West Virginia this weekend, as we're just a couple weeks away from the West Virginia playoffs starting up. So the Watchdog is your spot for high school football action all week, all season. You've heard us here each and every Friday, and don't go anywhere. We'll be taking you through the playoffs for the local teams. And, of course, you're home for Mountaineer and Cleveland Browns football as well. Basketball season right around the corner, too. You have Mountaineer basketball coming your way here very shortly. And, again, comprehensive election coverage all week long right here on the Watchdog. You're not going to want to go anywhere. Don't turn it off. Watchdog Network, everywhere you go. Whether you're going to the drugstore, you're going to the supermarket, you're going to get gas, you're going wherever you're going. Even if you're not in your car, you can listen to watchdognetwork.com. All right, let's get into it. College card this week. We had a good week in college football last week, 9-4. So we look to improve on that. Friday's games, didn't like anything there. I'll post at BLS_PRP. If you're listening to this early in the day Friday, we got 3 games. Georgia State at Connecticut, South Florida at UConn, South Florida at Florida Atlantic, Georgia State at UConn. I said that. San Diego State at Boise State. So Boise State maybe a little bit of lean there, but they're off of a nice win last week. I wouldn't push my luck with that one against San Diego State. All right, game of the day. It's Ohio State and Penn State at Happy Valley. This is up to Ohio State -4 now. Was around 3.5 on the open. 45 is the total. 7 of the last 10 have stayed under here, but man, I'm going to stick to my guns here and say that Penn State is kind of an over team for me. I liked what the backup quarterback did. Ohio State right now, they're sputtering. They're going to need to really pull out all the stops to try to win this game. Both of these coaches have struggled in big games. Ohio State's been better than James Franklin. There's no one worse than him. I think he's like 1-9 against like top 5 opponents or something. But Ohio State, they're the better team here. But Penn State is starting to match them a little bit. They're getting there. Penn State's got some good players. I'm impressed with them a little bit. I think they're a dangerous team in the playoff because they're one of the few teams that has solid play on both sides of the ball. You don't have that from a lot of teams. I mean, you got certain teams that are really good on offense and really terrible on defense. Miami, the worst defense in the entire Power 5. But I'm going over here. We're going to go over 45 here. Buckeyes and Nittany Lions. I know we got a lot of Buckeye fans that listen to the Watchdog Network. I think you bounce back here. I'd lean Ohio State in this game, even if Drew Allard doesn't play. I actually like the backup quarterback for Penn State. I thought he played really, really well last week. I think there'll be points in this game, but I think Ohio State will make enough plays down the stretch to win that game. So I recommend Ohio State, but I am officially on the over 45 in that game. I think it's a low total. Virginia Tech and Syracuse, it'll be Virginia Tech on the road, -4, total 53.5. Syracuse off an abysmal performance the other night on national television. Virginia Tech's won 3 straight. They're finally kicking it in gear. We liked them early in the season, and they didn't come through for us. And now we're going to go against them here. I think it's a tough spot for them. They've been playing really well. Syracuse off a humiliating performance. Everybody was making fun of them all week. They're going to be ready to go here. We'll take the orange plus the 4 at home. Army and Air Force doing battle here. Army -22.5, 42 the total here. Everybody loving Army. They are the darlings. You saw what happened in Navy. Last week they ran into a pretty good team. Well, Army's not playing a pretty good team. They're playing a pretty weak Air Force team. The last 10 in this series have stayed under, if you can believe that. I know that's not a shock, but I'm going over here. Army's got a better offense now. Air Force has given up a lot more points than they usually do. Their offense might be good to score maybe 10 to 14 points. I think Army will probably score close to 40 themselves, so we'll probably lean Army in the game, but we're definitely going over the 42. Duke at Miami, ACC showdown here. Miami has a pretty easy schedule here, so just look for them to stub their toe at some point. They're minus 21 at home, a total 54.5. Got Georgia Tech on the road next week. Georgia Tech, not bad. Duke, not bad. Lean Miami, but no official play on that one. Northwestern at Purdue, a Big Ten snooze fest for you right at noon. It'll be Northwestern -1 on the road, total 46.5. I lean Northwestern. Two pretty bad teams here. Northwestern, better coached, more disciplined. Purdue has pretty much packed it in for the year, so we'll go with the Wildcats on the road. Minnesota, Illinois. Interesting spectrum here of two teams. You got Minnesota coming in off a huge win last week. You got Illinois coming in off of a game that was a huge game for them, and they got trampled. The Illini catching 3 at home, the total 45. I really like Illinois in this game. I think Minnesota coming off of a big win. I think they have a little bit of a letdown. They've been playing pretty well lately, but I'm not sold on this PJ Fleck team. Bielema had to be all over his team all week. I would not want to make that guy mad. He seems like an angry fella anyway. We'll be going with Illinois here at home plus the 3 points. All right, keeping it going, we go down to a SEC battle here. It'll be Ole Miss at Arkansas. Ole Miss -7, the total 54. 8 of the last 10 in this matchup have stayed under the total. Oh, man, Arkansas has covered 9 of 10 in the series. Arkansas, we had them last week. They had a very nice win. This is a tricky spot. I lean Arkansas at home, but I don't love it. I like the under in this game. I like under 54. I think this will be a low-scoring, closely played game. Lean Arkansas, but we're going under the 54. Vanderbilt at Auburn. Public all over Vanderbilt. They're getting a lot of love right now. 5-0 to the under all-time in this matchup between these two schools. Auburn -6.5, total 48. So I lean Auburn in the game, but man, I can't bet them. They're not very good. I actually think Vanderbilt's a much better team, but that number looks weird and the public's on them. Although, like I said, public tickets have been coming in college football. Oregon at Michigan, Big Ten battle. Oregon on the road -15, total 45.5. 4 of their last 5 games, Oregon's played under. I think Oregon's a dead under team. They're one of the teams that will be pretty decent in the playoff because they got a functioning offense and a very good defense. We'll go under 45.5. I think it's tough for them to score in the big house. They'll probably make enough plays to cover it. Michigan, very poor on offense, but still a good defense, especially at home. We'll go under 45.5. Florida at Georgia, the cocktail party in Jacksonville. Florida catching 16.5 from the Bulldogs, a total 52. Georgia's won the last 3. The last 3 of the last 5 have gone over in this meeting, and that's where we're going here. Florida's offense has picked it up a little bit. I got to give them credit. I don't think they're very good, but they've scored some points. So we're going to go over 52. Georgia, good defense, but they can still give up some plays. They're still a little young in the back. It's getting better, though, getting much better. But we'll go over 52 here. I think Georgia will score in the high 30s themselves. Florida will only have to get to about 20. So we'll go with that game over the total down there at the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. Arizona and UCF. Oh, something's got to give here. UCF -6, the total 56. They've lost 5 in a row, the UCF Knights. And Arizona upset at home by WVU. They've lost 2 in a row. So catastrophes for both these schools. I don't know what to pick here. I'd probably take Arizona plus the points, but no official play for me. Indiana, the darlings of the world, they're on the road. -7.5, total 51.5 on the road at Michigan State. It's only their 3rd road game of the year. That worries me a little bit, but Indiana might just be better than everybody else. I'd be tempted to lay it here. If it goes to 7, I'll lay it with the Hoosiers, but 7.5, I don't want to mess with it. They really should stomp Michigan State. This will be a moderate test for them to see what they can do. North Carolina at Florida State. North Carolina -2.5, total 50.5. Tar Heels, not very good. Florida State is horrendous. Shouldn't even have a win. They were outgained in that game against Cal. Cal missed some chip shot field goals, turned the ball over, and still almost won. So lean North Carolina, but I'm not going to back them either because they're really, really bad. It could be a game where Florida State could feel good about itself for a few minutes. Texas Tech at Iowa State, Big 12 clash here. Iowa State -13, a total 56.5. Texas Tech's won the last 2 in the series. I can't figure this Big 12 out. I can't give plays on this game. I would lean Texas Tech here, plus the 13. If it goes to 14, I'll take them. But going into Ames, always tough. And these teams, I don't know who wants to win this league. I guess BYU. But everybody else is really, really questionable. K-State, Houston. K-State on the road -13, total 46. No opinion on that game. I just can't figure these Big 12 games out at all. UCLA will head into Lincoln to take on Nebraska. Nebraska -6.5, the total 40. Nebraska off a tough game. They could have beat Ohio State, probably should have. UCLA's improving here. I tend to lean towards the Bruins here. I've watched a few of their games recently because I've had the other side. They're not bad. They're improving. So Deshaun Foster's doing a good job getting his team better, and I think UCLA could be all right. If you get that up to 7, I would take them. Navy at Rice. This game is interesting to me. Navy minus 11, total 51.5. Navy, they got a step up in class last week. They made a lot of mistakes. They probably shouldn't have lost as bad as they did, but they made a lot of blunders. That's very uncharacteristic of a service academy, especially one with the talent of Navy. I don't know why this number is only 11. It's a little bit of a red flag to me. They should absolutely bury Rice here. Should absolutely bury them. So that's going to be my best bet of the week is the midshipmen. I think they absolutely bury Rice on the road here. Minus 11, maybe even over in this game. Navy may score in the 40s themselves. So I really do like the middies to bounce back strong with a nice win over Rice. Next game is an ACC battle. It's Louisville at Clemson. Clemson minus 10.5 to total 63 in this game. 4 of the last 6 over in this affair. 6-2 ATS run against Louisville for the Clemson Tigers. Clemson's pretty decent now. I don't know what their schedule says about that. They haven't played really anybody. Louisville's had some hard luck losses. Not a bad team. I like over in this game. Clemson seems to be an over team, which is weird because a few years ago they were dead under. Klubnik's got it going a little bit on the offensive side of things for them. But Louisville can score too. They can make some big plays. They got some good players. So we'll go over 63. I know it's a high total, but it's high for a reason. USC at Washington, a former Pac-12 matchup. It's now Big Ten. It'll be USC minus 2.5 on the road. At least they don't have to change time zones here. The total 55.5. Washington 7-3 the last 10 against USC against the spread. I like the Huskies here at home. They're coming off of a tough stretch for them, but they and USC both getting back to the Pacific time zone. I think that's good for them. USC to me seems like a team on the brink of completely falling apart. I'll take the Huskies at home along the water to cover against and probably win the game outright against USC. Texas A&M at South Carolina. A&M minus 2.5 on the road. Total 44.5. This was almost my best bet. A&M comes in off the big win at home against LSU. And they've won 9 out of 10 in this series against South Carolina. South Carolina's coming off of a bye. They got revenge on their mind. A&M's coming in here as a ranked tough guy, and South Carolina's taking them down outright. I think they win this game. This was going to be my best bet, but I want Navy. That's my 1A best bet. The Gamecocks at home, winning the game outright against the Texas A&M Aggies. If it goes to 3, I'd take the 3, but going to be playing that one on the money line for sure. Wisconsin at Iowa. Iowa minus 3.5. Total 41.5. As you can expect, 7 of the last 10 in this series have stayed under the total. Iowa's won the last 2 against Wisconsin. Just when I think Wisconsin's a little bit better, then they disappoint me. Iowa's not been very good either recently. I don't know what to make of this game. Maybe under's the way to go, but small lean to Wisconsin plus the 3.5. Kentucky at Tennessee. Oh, man, Kentucky. Catching 16 on the road, the total 45.5. They have been a mess since their win against Ole Miss. They've lost 3 in a row. Tennessee's 8-2 ATS in the last 10 against Kentucky. So that's not good. Tennessee is pretty good on defense, and they're improving on offense, but I like this game under. I think Kentucky's going to find points very difficult here in this game. Neyland Stadium's going to be rocking. Tennessee's playing well. Haven't played since they beat Alabama. They'll be ready to go. Home crowd will be great, and under 45.5 will go there. I don't think Kentucky will get to 14 in this game. TCU at Baylor. Baylor minus 3, total 64.5. Again, another Big 12 game I have zero feel on. Maybe lean Horned Frogs, but I can't recommend it. Pitt at SMU. Very intriguing game here. Pitt catching 7.5 right now on the road at SMU. Total 58.5. I'll tell you right now, SMU is really good. They've impressed me. I didn't think they had it in them. I thought they were always like a soft team that was good on offense, run pretty offense, and that's it. When they play against physical teams, they can't do it. Well, they're proving me wrong. They're winning some close games. They're battling. They're making stops on defense, things that they've never done in their history, maybe since Pony Express days. But they got the death penalty for that. Let's hope that doesn't happen here. SMU again minus 7.5. Pitt's run's got to come out or run out here. They've got to lose at some point. They're not good enough. The quarterback's been good. They've overachieved all year long. I think SMU could hammer them here. Pros are on SMU. Public's all over Pitt. Pitt's really good because they're undefeated. Everybody loves them in the area. I'm going SMU and over in this game. I think there's points, and I think SMU wins this game by probably 2 touchdowns. So I look even at an alternate line in that one. And then the final game. So how about this? World Series game 7 would be Saturday. Well, it doesn't look like we're even going to get to that. And Colorado State and Nevada is the last game on the card on Saturday night. So, boy, you better find some other things to wager on in the evenings. But because I don't think we're going to have a baseball game. 1.5 is the spread. Colorado State on the road, total 45.5. Nevada not very good. Colorado State not very good either. Probably maybe lean to the under in that one. But that's no get-out game. No Hawaii or anybody late out there in the old Pac-12. That's going to do it for us here on Bettor's Last Stand, show number 107. Don't go anywhere, though. Stay right here on the Watchdog for high school football action. It'll be Point Pleasant taking on John Marshall this evening at 7 o'clock. We'll be sending it down to Ross and Coach Heinerman and Coach Treveri down in Point Pleasant. But before we have the pregame show coming to you from the Watchdog Studios, myself, I think maybe Coach will be on there tonight because he doesn't have a game at Park. Jubb will be around. I think we're going to give Chris and Jeff might get the night off, but we shall see which cast of characters from the Pine Room end up showing up down here at the Watchdog for us. But nonetheless, you're going to have a comprehensive rundown of all the games in Ohio and West Virginia of impact around the area, and we'll be getting you ready for John Marshall and Point Pleasant tonight. That's going to do it for us. Again, you can listen to the full versions at thepineroomstudios.com or at the Pine Room Studios on YouTube. Follow us on social media at the Pine Room Studios. Follow us on at the Bettor's Last Stand, Twitter at BLS_PRP for all of our racing picks and some of the other picks from the weekend. And that'll do it for us. Again, stop over the Brownie House, yesbrownies.com today, and get your 20% off your order using the promo code Pine Room. All right, thanks again to Gumby's and Jill's Gentlemen's Club for sponsoring our Football Fridays here on the Watchdog. They are wonderful partners. We are proud to be a part of the Watchdog team and partnered with the friends of ours at Gumby's and Jill's Gentlemen's Club. Also, a reminder, Wheeling Nailers in action tomorrow night over at West Banco Arena. They take on Bloomington. That's the new team in the ECHL. So the Nailers home opener over there at 7 o'clock. Don't miss that one, too. Should be a great, great thing. We got on Bettor's Last Stand, this is. We had Nailing It Down earlier today on our Football Friday show from Gumby's down in Moundsville at the zoo. So we had a nice rundown for the Nailers. They take on Toledo tonight, and they'll be back home tomorrow to take on Bloomington. So that'll do it for us here on Bettor's Last Stand, show number 107 from the Pine Room Watchdog Studios in downtown Wheeling. High school football action is next with the pregame show and John Marshall in Point Pleasant. We will see you momentarily for the high school football pregame show here on the Watchdog. That'll do it for us on Bettor's Last Stand, show number 107. Good luck on your wagers and have a great weekend.